Welcome to Business Innovators Radio, featuring industry influencers and trendsetters sharing proven strategies to help you build a better life right now.
You are listening to the Brilliance Business Show, conversations with leading experts in business. I am your host, Mark Stephen Pooler. Today we have a wonderful guest, Dr. Russell Kennedy, the Anxiety MD, and our topic today is giving a different understanding and treatment of anxiety. Dr. Russell, welcome to the Brilliance Business Show.
Thanks, Mark. It's really great to be on your show.
I'm really looking forward to a conversation with you. Before I get started, I just need to make a legal disclaimer that Russell is not offering legal advice or legal assistance. So let's get started with the show. Dr. Russell, can you share with our listeners a little bit about yourself and your business?
Sure. My name is Russell Kennedy. I'm a medical doctor. I grew up in a chaotic house. My dad had schizophrenia and bipolar disorder. So I was always hypervigilant. I was always waiting for him to get too happy, like heading into a manic phase, or get really down or depressed, or get into a sad phase. And I just felt helpless and powerless because I loved my dad. My dad was amazing in many ways. Helped me, hit a ball, ride a bike, all that stuff that dads do. And I just felt helpless and powerless. And I just kept, vigilantly watching him, which started an anxiety disorder in me. So I love neuroscience. I've always loved brain science. So I did my pre-med degree in neuroscience and learned a lot about the brain and specifically about how it works in mental disorders. And then I went to get my medical degree at the University of Western Ontario. And unfortunately, my dad didn't live to see me get into medical school, which was one of my dreams. He committed suicide just before I learned I gained entrance, which was one of the saddest parts of my life. But once I finished, I started trying to help people as best I could in probably a way that I couldn't help my dad. And I saw that medicine really relies heavily on medications to treat mental disorders, which there's a part of me that's highly conservative and scientific, and there's also a part of me that's kind of more yoga, kind of ethereal. So it really didn't jive well with me to just prescribe medications all the time. And there is a saying that, when you're a hammer, everything looks like a nail. And I think medical doctors were kind of pharmaceutical hammers in many ways. We're trained to treat things with drugs, and it really didn't jive with me to treat everything with medications. And especially with my own anxiety, I had to find a way of treating my own anxiety. So I went through every type of therapy. I went through CBT, ACT, psychotherapy, EMDR, neurofeedback, all that stuff. And nothing really helped my anxiety. So it was kind of a case of physician heal thyself. And I took my doctorate in medicine and my neuroscience background and did some advanced training in developmental psychology. And that helped. But what really helped was taking like psychedelics. I started taking psychedelics in my 50s. I didn't do it often, but it really gave me a lot of insight into what really caused my anxiety. So it showed me when I took LSD, it really showed me the real source of my anxiety was more to do with an old sense of alarm that was stored in my body rather than the thoughts of my mind. So what I do is I provide a very new and counterintuitive and untraditional approach to anxiety and healed myself where traditional therapies wouldn't heal me. So people that I see mostly have tried everything. They've had anxiety for 5, 10, 15, 20, sometimes 30, 40, 50 years. And I provide them with the insight that they need to understand what happens in their mind and their body with anxiety and what exactly we can do about it to treat the underlying source as opposed to just treating the symptoms. So that was rather long-winded kind of introduction, Mark, but that's kind of what I do.
Thank you for sharing, Russell. It's great hearing your story, and obviously I can tell from your childhood that must have been a really hard thing to go through, and then to get anxiety yourself. Anxiety is a real common issue. So many people suffer with stress, anxiety, depression. And also, I'm a big fan of neuroscience as well. I love watching documentaries on it as well. And there's a lot of people out there, Russell, that don't want medication. They don't want pills. So the fact that you're offering a different approach is really unique. Who are your clients? Who are the customers that you look after?
Well, a lot of people I see are disillusioned with the therapies, as I was. Psychotherapy wasn't working, cognitive therapies weren't working because, a lot of this stuff is an underlying unconscious issue. So you can't heal a feeling problem with a thinking solution. And I think we worship the mind in our society. And I think what I see is people that have tried all the mind-based therapies and they work short term, sure, but they still, a year later, they're coming back with anxiety that was probably even worse than they had originally. So the people I see are the ones that have tried everything else. And I hear that every day. It's like, I've tried everything. I don't think you're going to be able to help me. And they're actually really shocked in, a month or two when I get an email back from them saying, I didn't think this was going to work, but it's actually really empowered me to change the way that I look at my anxiety and to change the way I look at my connection with myself.
That must be very rewarding for you as well, knowing that you're making a difference. Do you recall a specific aha moment that led to the launch of your business?
I don't know if there was, I think there's always been something in me. Like in 2013, I left medicine because I was burned out. I wasn't jiving with the pharmaceutical model so much. And I think there was a sense, and I just crashed for about 2 years. And that's when I did LSD and ayahuasca and stuff, not to get high, but just to take my neuroscience background and my medicine background and kind of see what would happen to all that science if I really just pulled myself into my essence. So there wasn't a real specific aha moment around 2015 when I started to really get better from anxiety. I thought, I've got to really share this with other people. And it took me about 5 years to write the book. So once I write the book, and I have all sorts of people now, sending me messages every day saying that book is the most amazing thing they've ever read. And it's different than anything else that's ever been written on anxiety before, because I'm a medical doctor and neuroscientist who also has anxiety. Like there's no better guides than the people that have actually been where you are and can show you the way out. So I don't know if there was a specific aha moment. I think there was always a sense in me that I was a teacher and that I had a message for people. But, I'm kind of a late bloomer. I didn't really start until I was in my 50s.
Also, you mentioned there the words when you got better from anxiety. So my question would be, is anxiety something you get better from, or you improve the way that you cope with it? Because I have suffered with stress, anxiety and depression, and
Right.
I don't get it very, very rarely now, but sometimes you can get those little triggers that do take you back to feeling really full of anxiety. So that's my question for you.
Yeah, I think what I do is I change the people's perception of the sensations in their body. Because what happens with anxiety, and I consider anxiety an issue of the mind, but alarm is really the root cause of anxiety. It's often old traumas that are held in our body. And Gabor Mate just published a movie about this called The Wisdom of Trauma, where a lot of our old traumas are held in our body. And that trauma kind of resonates. It kind of sits in our body and it resonates. Yes. And our mind is a meaning-making, make sense machine. So our mind reads our body. It reads that uncomfortable energy that's stored, old trauma from our childhood. And it starts making up stories that are completely consistent with that uncomfortable feeling. So when we have that uncomfortable feeling in our body, our minds make sense of it by saying, oh my God, my relationship isn't going well. Oh my God, my kid might get sick. Oh my God, I've got this huge tax bill. So your mind will focus you on how your body feels. So if you can change your perception of the alarm in your body as a warning system, as an indication that you've lost touch with lost connection with your true self, then you can start to heal at its root, as opposed to just trying to change the way you think. Because changing the way you think will help you feel better for 2 or 3 seconds, but changing the way your body feels will help you feel better permanently. And that's, I think, when people have that old alarm feeling in their body, I get them to change their perception of that as not something that's a danger sign, but it's something that's telling you, hey, you need to become in real connection with yourself. Because that's the reason why you have anxiety in the first place. Is all anxiety is separation anxiety, and it's mostly separation from yourself.
That makes a lot of sense, Dr. Russell. My next question, what really motivates you to jump out of bed every single day?
Well, just to make sure people don't have to suffer with anxiety as I did. I know how close I got to, ending my own life, just the way my dad did. And I felt that if this is what life was, dealing with an 8-hour panic attack every single day, life wasn't worth living. So I feel bad for the people that are stuck in the system, that are trying psychotherapy, that are doing the traditional methods, that are taking antidepressants with all the side effects. And they're not really getting a lot better. They learn how to cope with anxiety. But what I teach is how to heal from it, how to actually change your perception of that alarm, how to connect with that alarm in your body and heal it at the root cause. And one of the analogies that I draw is it's kind of like you're in a rowboat and there's a hole in the hull of the rowboat. So it's filling up with water, and the water is kind of the anxiety. Now you can do cognitive therapies and you can kind of bail water out so that as the water level drops, you feel a little bit better. But unless you heal the alarm in your system, unless you heal that old unresolved trauma energy, unless you heal that hole in the boat, you're always going to be bailing water. So what I do is I help people essentially heal the hole in their boat so that they don't have to bail water anymore.
Great reasons to get out of bed every day. And it makes a lot of sense, the way that you heal people rather than just coping. No one wants to just cope. People want to live a fruitful life with abundance, happiness, without having to just feel like they're coping through something. What sets your business apart, and what unique need are you filling for your clients?
Oh, good question. What sets me apart, I guess, is I'm a doctor and a neuroscientist who has a neurological issue. I have the condition that I treat in other people. And I think that's fairly unique to find a doctor who has the same condition that they, heal in other people. So, I'm helping people heal from anxiety rather than just coping. Like if you're coping, you get along for a while and then something like COVID comes along, or, you start having relationship problems, or you get into a car accident and then you get into full-blown anxiety again. So what I teach is how to become resilient to anxiety, to actually welcome that sense of alarm as a call to action to connect with yourself, because that's what makes you anxiety proof. It's not just learning how to think differently. Thinking differently will change your mind for about 2 or 3 seconds, but feeling differently can change your mind for a lifetime.
And that's really special as well, Dr. Russell, that you have had the condition, because that must allow you to relate to your clients and them to relate to you on a whole different level, because they understand that you know exactly what they're going through, and you don't always get that when you're going to a medical person. So this is really a nice thing to hear, and a great way to build great relationships with the clients that you are serving. Why do you feel your service is especially important in today's modern world?
Well, anxiety is the fastest growing condition in the world. So it can be fixed. It can be treated. As much as I talk to people, they feel like, I've tried everything and nothing's going to get better, but they're not treating the right source of the problem. if you're treating the effect of the anxiety, which is the anxious thoughts, you're only going to get limited relief. But if you actually treat the underlying cause, and our children are suffering so much with anxiety, and often when I heal the parents, the children heal as well. So it's one of those things that I feel like I'm making a difference in the world, and it's sort of this ripple effect. And whenever you talk about something that's brand new, and this is brand new treatment for anxiety, it's never been talked about before. So when you talk about something that's brand new, it takes a while for people to kind of embrace it and believe it. So my victories with my patients, I actually feel them because I know what it felt like when I started to feel some agency and some control over this entity that kind of ruled my life for 30 or 40 years.
Can you share a few more details on the kind of services and products you offer?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I have a book and an audiobook called Anxiety RX, which is basically written in 108 short chapters about how to understand what your anxiety truly is and how to understand where it really comes from and what you can do about it. I have courses as well. I have online courses that help you really understand the true cause of your anxiety. I also have things I've created myself called hypno meditations, which I'm trained in hypnosis as well as meditation. I'm a certified yoga and meditation teacher. So I combine hypnosis, meditation, and binaural beats in the background to sort of go into that unconscious mind where all these old anxious programs are stored and start bringing them up to the surface so that you can start changing them. So, I'm probably going to be moving into a membership site in the next probably 6 months to a year, where I'll share access to my own information as well as, do weekly calls with people in a group, because, your problem is probably everybody else's problem too. I do a room on Clubhouse every Sunday at noon, which I guess is 8 p.m. your time in the UK, and where I talk about my own anxiety and people call in and I use my kind of intuition and my experience to help them heal with anxiety themselves. So, and I have an Instagram page called @theanxietymd where I really help a lot of people. So my services are kind of broad, and it's kind of funny for me because I don't look at it as a business, and maybe that's probably not the way, because as a doctor, doctors are notoriously bad business people. So it's one of those things that I'm really emerging and evolving now, but I really like the fact that I've got a book, I've got courses, and the hypno meditations are very inexpensive, and they're something that people can do to start healing their anxiety right away.
Where can our listeners get a hold of Anxiety RX, your book, Russell?
Amazon, bookstores, Audible for audiobooks. It's available in the UK under Audible UK, audible.com in the US and Canada. That's probably the biggest places to find my stuff so far. And then my website, theanxietymd.com, has more information on how to find some more of these things.
Excellent. Now, I know you've got all sorts of client success stories. Is there one that really stands out to you?
Oh, stands out. Well, I talked to a very young woman last week who lost everything last month in a fire, including her beloved dog, and she couldn't sleep, she couldn't eat. And I talked to her on Zoom, and basically we found the root cause. A lot of this stuff comes from old childhood wounds that are unresolved that get flared up again. So we found her root cause, and she just sent me an email yesterday just saying, look, I'm sleeping, I'm eating, like, I can't thank you enough. Like, things have really changed, because I basically took her into her body. I found her source of alarm in her body, and we kind of worked together on breathing through it, as well as giving her some cognitive solutions as well, because I really believe I'm not against cognitive therapy by any means at all. I just think that we have to add some kind of somatic, body-based, unconscious programming, because the body is the representation of the unconscious mind where all our negative programs are stored. So with her, I took her in an hour, and she's very, very, very happy. She sends me messages on Instagram every day to check in, and she's very, very happy with where she was, the devastating place that she was. And of course it still hurts, but what she told me is that it still hurts, but I'm separate from it. My perception of it has changed. And that basically is what I do for people is, yeah, you're still going to have the alarm, but your perception of it changes. And when your perception of it changes, your body doesn't feel it at the same intensity. And then you start feeling like you've got some control over a situation that previously felt completely powerless and out of control.
That makes a lot of sense. It's a lovely story, and I can only imagine what she went through. That is
Oh,
a
yeah.
real tragedy. I have a dog, and I love my dog too.
I have 3
bits, so I get that totally. But just being able to get through it that little bit better and suffer less, I just love a success story.
Well, she also told me, I just want to throw one more thing in there. She also told me now she has the tools to be able to look at things in her life, like her relationship with her boyfriend, her relationship with her parents. She has the tools now to be able to understand that at a root level rather than just dealing with the surface. So that's one of the things I love about her. And the fact that I got her when she was only 22 and she's not calling me at 55 with, 30 years of anxiety to undo.
And even though you helped her through this is going to help her long term whenever
Absolutely.
any kind of struggles come along. How do clients typically hear about you, and are there certain life moments that usually lead to them seeking you out?
I think they kind of crash. I think there's a lot of people who were coping, like we talked about earlier on in this little chat we're having. A lot of people are coping because it is a very stressful world that we live in. And then you get an event like COVID, or you get an event like your relationship breaks up, or you get into an accident or something like that happens, or your parent gets sick. My mother just broke her hip about a month ago, and these things really rock our worlds because anxiety is one of those things that people get used to and they adapt to, and it really sucks the life out of the quality of their lives. So we kind of adapt to it and we cope to it. And then usually what I'll see is someone will have an acute event, like my girl with the fire, like she'll be coping, but then some acute event will come along, and that's when people kind of find me. And usually it's something like Instagram or my website, or I've done a number of podcasts, probably 50 podcasts in the last 18 months, where they'll hear about me that way. I did a YouTube video with Nicole LaPera, who's the holistic psychiatrist the holistic psychologist who has like 4 million people follow her on Instagram. So there's a lot of things. I'm just starting to get some reach out now where people are starting to see my sort of counterintuitive way of dealing with anxiety.
You really are making a difference. And like you mentioned, it's always when something happens that they need you. How rewarding that you can serve and help people and uplift them to a better place, Russell. I find your work fascinating. Is there anything we have not discussed that you would like to share?
Yeah, I guess it's the personal reason why I do this. I mean, my dad just suffered so much in his life, and I watched him, and it's very difficult to see someone you love so deeply and care about so deeply suffer so much. And I really felt that he and I, like when I get successes with people, I feel like it's my dad and I, like his life wasn't in vain. His life wasn't in vain. Through me, and he and I together have actually put this book into the world, have actually put this theory into the world. So his life wasn't in vain. Like, we are helping people. And he really wanted to help people. In 1960, he had his own radio show at the age of 27, which at the time was a huge feat. But his mental illness just basically kind of stomped the quality out of his life. And I watched it, and I watched him crumble. And I don't want anyone to have to crumble like that. And I don't want anyone to have to suffer with anxiety as I did. So I feel like that's my motivation. That's my why. That's the reason I do this, is because I love my dad so much. And this is his way and my way of putting good back into the world.
I am certain you have made your dad really, really proud, Russell. Russell, what is the best way for our listeners to get a hold of you?
Probably just Google the Anxiety MD. My YouTube channel comes up, my Instagram, my website, all that sort of thing. Just the Anxiety MD is kind of like my brand. It's the easiest way to find me.
I would say to all of those listeners out there, if you are going through anxiety, stresses, depression, get in touch with the Anxiety MD, Google the name and Russell Kennedy will be at your service. Dr. Russell, thank you so much for coming on to the Brilliance Business Show.
Thanks, Mark. It was really fun to talk to you. Thank you so much.
I've really enjoyed having a conversation with you. You have been listening to the Brilliance Business Show, conversations with leading experts in business.
Thanks for listening to Business Innovators Radio. To hear all episodes featuring leading industry influencers and trendsetters, visit us online at businessinnovatorsradio.com today.